Your four favorites are The Passion of Joan of Arc, The Color of Pomegranates, Solaris, and Fallen Leaves. My top choice for you is Diary of a Country Priest. Like The Passion of Joan of Arc, it's an exploration of faith where someone is made to be an outcast and/or subjected to cruelty. Like The Color of Pomegranates, it's spiritual and rich with symbolism. Like Solaris, it's existential and depicts someone's inner turmoil. And a character mentions this film by name in Fallen Leaves. On a similar note, I want to recommend Bergman's Winter Light for its similar exploration of characters wrestling with their faith, and it examines feelings of guilt and doubt like Solaris. It feels spiritual and poetic like The Color of Pomegranates, and like Fallen Leaves, it depicts emotional isolation and loneliness. Wings of Desire reflects on suffering and questions of faith like The Passion of Joan of Arc. It's poetic like The Color of Pomegranates. It explores memory and feelings of longing like Solaris. And like Fallen Leaves, it's about characters living ordinary, lonely lives and longing for connection. First Reformed depicts a crisis of faith like The Passion of Joan of Arc. It's rich with symbolism like The Color of Pomegranates. It's introspective and depicts a character confronting their feelings of guilt like in Solaris. And like Fallen Leaves, there's this quiet sense of loneliness and isolation. Ida, like Joan of Arc, delves into themes of religion and morality. Like Solaris, it's about memory and guilt. It's an exploration of identity like The Color of Pomegranates. And like Fallen Leaves, it feels more quiet and restrained. Another film where someone is on trial and considered a martyr like Joan of Arc is A Hidden Life. La Strada portrays human suffering like Joan of Arc. It explores loneliness and moral conflict like Solaris. And like Fallen Leaves, it depicts a couple of characters who are kindred spirits. Orpheus is spiritual and existential like Joan of Arc. It's poetic with symbolic and surreal visuals like The Color of Pomegranates. And like Solaris, it's a meditation on memory. The Cranes Are Flying portrays human suffering like Joan of Arc. Like Solaris, it's about memory and loss. It's got romance like Fallen Leaves. And like The Color of Pomegranates, it's very visually expressive with a lot of symbolism in the shot compositions. The Last Temptation of Christ is an exploration of faith and suffering like Joan of Arc. It's a symbolic portrait of identity like The Color of Pomegranates. And like Solaris, it's about inner conflict, guilt, and doubt. The Holy Mountain delves into spirituality like Joan of Arc, but is also visually surreal like The Color of Pomegranates. I know The Testament of Anne Lee isn't in theaters yet, but I want to mention it because I think it has a lot of thematic similarities to The Passion of Joan of Arc. But an older film that explores similar themes that I think you'd enjoy is Black Narcissus. I also think The Devil Probably really fits the vibe of your favorites, because it's a character study that depicts this moral, spiritual, and existential struggle. And even though it's not a romantic comedy, there's something about the way the characters interact that feels sort of comparable to Fallen Leaves. Uncle Boonmee, who can recall his past lives, is existential and spiritual like Joan of Arc, but also poetic like The Color of Pomegranates, and it's about memory and mortality like Solaris. The Hourglass Sanatorium explores similar themes to your favorites and has a surreal, dreamlike visual style like The Color of Pomegranates. On the Silver Globe is science fiction like Solaris, but surreal like The Color of Pomegranates with some thematic similarities to your favorites. Shadows in Paradise is another romantic comedy from the director of Fallen Leaves, so it has that same deadpan humor and signature style. But another romantic comedy that I just think you'd enjoy is The Apartment. And I also get the feeling you'd appreciate What Happened Was, because I feel like it has a similar vibe to Fallen Leaves, which feels wrong to say because this movie made me cry and Fallen Leaves didn't. But based on your favorites and your reviews that I read, I really just get the feeling you'd see something special in this one. And as a bonus, you didn't have The Dead Don't Die marked as watch, and I have a feeling you know exactly why I'm recommending it.